Good morning, friends and traders. Welcome to the Market Forecast. I am Dan Hodgman. John is out here today. Hope you guys are all having a nice day or had a nice night. It is Friday, September 25th. Durable goods came in this morning. Seems like it was a little bit of a miss. They were expecting 1.5%. Came out at 0.4%. But stocks seem to hold up. I hope you guys have had a good week. It's been an interesting one, right? I mean, markets have been volatile to nothing, and so it's kind of nice that we're going to come to an end here. As always, if you have had a good week thus far, today your job is to preserve what you've done. If you've had a rough week, today is a day to maybe sit on your hands, wait for that A setup, that A opportunity. If those things present themselves, then execute. But again, Fridays are all about capital preservation type days. No major news going to be coming out today as far as we know. Jerome Powell is not speaking today. We're going to have to keep an eye on the news. Maybe something random happens. But we are not scheduled for any big market influencing shockers. So we'll have to keep an eye on things. Some interesting things going on in the world, though. North Korea, South Korea. Tensions seem to be easing. North Korea apologized for killing a South Korean official. I think that's, a South Korean official. They're also talking about, it's just interesting stuff going on with North and South Korea. Check it out. It's kind of an interesting read. What else do we have going on? Well, stocks are looking for the first down month since March if we kind of continue to trend lower into next week. Silver. Worst week in 9 years. Down 1.5%, I think, already today. And then some interesting stuff. You guys know me. I love talking about stocks. I love buying and selling stocks. I do a lot of stocks. Some stuff to start paying attention to are these online betting companies. You've got Penn National, who purchased part of Barstool Sports earlier this year, have launched Barstool Bets. Penn National stock continues to scream higher. We've got another one, a British stock betting or gambling company called William Hill, off to the races this morning. So kind of interesting things worth checking out. All right, let's say good morning to everybody. Good morning, Nick, Charles, John. Past step 2 yesterday. I'm going into the funded account. Thanks, John, congratulations. Super excited for you. Now that you're in the funded account, you and I will probably get to work together a little bit more, so I look forward to working with you. Rob, aiming to follow soon. That's what we like to hear. Felix, good morning. Christopher, Alan, Caesar, Venus, Algo Lover, Mike, Vast West, Sarah, good morning. Subconscious, good morning. Algo Lover. Esteban, good morning, everybody. KJ from Poland, outstanding. All right, everybody. Let's go ahead, take a look at what we got going on in these markets so that we can take advantage of it, be done quick and early, and get out and enjoy our weekend. As always, we're going to start with the daily in crude, which really we have weekly kickoff level showing here. But let's be realistic. Whoops, No, we're right. We could almost tighten these things up for what we've seen all week long. It's been a really, really, really tight week. So when we look at the daily here, this is just looking for new information. The price, this is telling us price is pretty valid. People are okay with the price of approximately $40 a barrel, right? So when we look a little bit closer on the 30-minute, what do we have going on? First off, we have settlement price up here at 40.31. That's going to be a level to keep an eye on if this market continues to push higher. We first have to break above yesterday's value area high right here at 40.13. If we can break above that, then I'm looking to settlement price. And then from there, we do have a good bit of overnight consolidation up here at about 40.55. So if this trend continues to the upside, if this reversal really continues here, this pullback, this rally, those are a couple points to keep an eye on up above. Down below, where can this thing go? Well, we're noticing that it's already kind of hitting that wall at yesterday's value area low down here at 39.75. But below that, my models, I've got stuff pointing out still 39.40. So that's kind of the range I'm going to be taking a look at. And it's really not much different than what we get when we look at what this week really has done. I mean, obviously it's a little bit lower down here, about $39, and up here at 40.65. Nonetheless, the range for me, when I looked a little bit closer, I'm looking again 40.55 down to 39.40. That's really is where I'm seeing some good opportunities. Next, looking at the S&P 500, which continues to trend lower. How much lower can it go? Well, if we take a look at just some simple measure moves, it really could go quite a bit. But we are trying to, as of yesterday, it's showing it's trying to stabilize. When we look a little bit closer here, we are finding constant levels down here. I'm looking at 32.10. It's that downside. It really has continued to show some support. And we can see that a little bit better when we look at the 30-minute chart here. Market continuously coming down here by that 32.10. Yesterday, earlier this week, last night, continues to find some support there. So that's first place I'm looking at on the downside. Now, if we go higher, normally, you guys know me, the first thing I'm looking to do is see the market check settlement price, 32.38. But I actually have some stuff inside there that has my attention before we get up to settlement, and it's 32.34. I'm going to watch this reaction at 32.34. I think that can be a really pivotal spot. And then from there, if we can break through the settlement price, 30.50. I'm kind of splitting the difference here. I like 32.50. I'm kind of like splitting the difference. We got value area high from yesterday at 32.47. And then we have this consolidation last night from 32.54. So we're going to kind of split the difference here. We're going to talk about 32.50. Again, these levels are not finite. They are areas. So we can sit here and go 47 up to 54. That's kind of this range to keep an eye on if we can break through settlement. So I'm going to be looking for that kind of opportunity as I get to settlement price. Can I get up here? Can I get to that 32.50 area? If I can, then hey, that can be an opportunity for a great trade. Otherwise, again, to the downside, 32.10. I like it. Paid out a lot yesterday, paid out last night. So I'll continue to keep an eye on 32.10. Next, let's look at the NASDAQ, which showed a little bit more life yesterday than the S&P 500. But still having a rough month so far. Continues to stumble. And it's going to take a lot to make this a positive month. For this to be a positive month, we got to get back up over 12,000. That's going to be quite a move for this market, and I just don't foresee that happening. So again, this market continues to kind of bottom out down here right around that 10,800. Market hasn't really shown any acceptance below there. It continues to hold above it. And so when we look a little bit closer, what are we going to look for here today? All right. Well, first and foremost, yesterday, this box that we were trying to draw, we had a hard time on the recap yesterday. Made sure I drew it here today. Created opportunity again. Obviously, we talked about this first bounce off of it yesterday. Bounced off it again last night. So this continues to be a pivotal point right here at 10,820. Continues to create some opportunity. Therefore, I will continue to look for opportunity as this market comes down to it. A couple other places to keep an eye on. First off, we have settlement price right here at 10,891 3/4. So right now we are kind of sitting in the middle of yesterday's value area. We can appreciate that. We can respect that. We know we like looking at value high and value low. So at this point, that's going to be where my eyes are going to go. I'm going to look to stick within the range until this market tells me otherwise. Right now, it is telling me it's staying within the range. It did it last night. Last night, it came in, touched value area high. We rotated lower. Yeah, we pushed a little bit through value area low. We came down to that overnight point that was resistance, what was once resistance, becomes support. We came down to that support level. So right now it's telling me it wants to stay inside, and so that's really where my eyes are going to go. So a couple things to keep an eye on. Value area high. Maybe you can bring it down a little bit. We've got a really high volume node from yesterday, and we've had consolidation here last night right here at 10,950. And then to the downside, I'm really going to be watching this. Value area low, 43. Down to the high side of this little box that we drew of a 20. Next, let's look at the gold. Well, like we said a minute ago, silver's off to its worst week in 9 years. Gold as well continues to slip. But over the last couple of days, starting to show that maybe we found a little bit of a bottom. But it took a while, but we finally broke out of that range that this thing had sat in, really 2000. Heck, we can even bring it down to about 1980 and 1920, kind of this really tight range that this thing just sat in for a month and a half. Finally broke out earlier this week, and just the stumble continues. And obviously, we're taking a look lower. The dollar has moved higher. Let me just glance really quick at where my dollar chart's at. Yeah, the dollar continues to push a little bit higher, and that makes sense. If the dollar is pushing higher, gold is based in U.S. dollars, something we got to think about here. So gold is now starting to maybe find a little bit of a range. We're continuing, first off, settlement price for gold, $1,876.90 up here. That's the high side. Buyers start to scoop this thing up. Heck yeah. Look into settlement price. It created some opportunity overnight multiple times, and I'm going to continue to look at that. You guys know me. I love my settlement price, but what else am I looking at here today? First off, I like this low. I'm actually kind of bringing it up a little bit, 1857. That's a low side that I'm going to watch. Now, where can it go if we get below that, right? Because when we look back here on the daily chart, we got a long time since we've traded down here. I mean, we're talking back in July, we were trading in these levels. So we are going back to some older points that we have to pay attention to. So I kind of dug into some of my older stuff earlier this week to see where this thing can go down to. Some of my models and some of the things that I was looking at were bringing up my old level of 1840. So if sellers really come in and overpower this thing, 1840, which happens to be this moving average right here. All right. Next, let's look at the currencies. Just like gold, based in the U.S. dollar or based against the U.S. dollar, if the dollar's doing well, we're going to see the euro slip. Just makes sense. So we were actually, when I was sitting down taking notes of this, we were in a pivotal spot, 116.56, and we have started to kind of sell it off a little bit. Nothing huge. We are kind of still in that pivotal location. First off, settlement price here, 116.85.5. 116.85.5 is where we got settlement price, which was heck of some support in the overnight session. Excuse me. Market finally broke below it, and it really accelerated. Came in check last night or yesterday's value area low. Amazing how these levels continue to come into play, right, guys? I mean, we talk about them all the time, and yet they continuously create opportunities. So I hope you guys are taking notes of these. I know I use it religiously when I'm looking for targets, when I'm looking for places that I can execute. Where can I execute? I'm looking at these levels. So I highly recommend keeping an eye on them. So, as I was saying, that 1656, we were kind of in that pivotal spot there. And thus far, it is pointing lower, but it's having a hard time really making new lows of this week. Yesterday, we hit the low of the week down here at 1645. We haven't made it down that far just yet. And so, again, great buy opportunity, right? When we came down here, each time we've come down into this area, we have value area low from yesterday. We have the weekly swing low That happened yesterday as well. It's giving us a setup for an asymmetric trade, right? And that's what we are looking for at all times. We're looking for those opportunities where we can keep our risk really small and we can look for some decent reward, right? So this is something I tell a lot of traders that I work with. When you enter into areas that you like the trade, a lot of times we're going to see traders that are looking for that breakout to continue. But I'm a bigger fan of finding that range, and the range is going to give me cheaper opportunity entered into a trade. And so down here, we can start to look for that, maybe that long opportunity, because we can keep our stops relatively tight. And we have some points up above to look for some sort of profit. And so I'm not saying this is the right trade just yet. I'm going to wait for the equity open before I make any decisions here. But definitely, this is the kind of opportunities we want to look for. We want to look for those cheap entries where we can keep our risk really tight. And we can find these profit targets that are important levels that we talk about all the time. Happens to be settlement price up here, happens to be a point of control. If this market does get up here, this is where I'm going to be looking for my opportunity at settlement price, prior day value area high. Going to be areas worth keeping an eye on if this market gets up there. All right. And lastly, let's go ahead and look at the yen. Still in yesterday's range. But again, having that down week, but again, makes total sense based off the US dollar moving higher. These things based against the US dollar should, in theory, move lower. So when we look a little bit closer, what do we have going on? Well, yesterday was a real dud of a day. We saw some overnight moves, and now we've kind of fallen back into yesterday's range. The first thing we want to just kind of think about here when we look at this is what's this range and how do I trade within it, right? So here's kind of that range, and this is kind of what we want to keep an eye on. I'm going to trade within the bounds of this range right now, so 94.86, and maybe I'm pushing it, but up here at 95 even. So we have settlement price at 94.94, which happens to be right in the middle of those 2 points that we just looked at. And I am going to stick within those ranges until the market tells me. I tried last night. It really tried last night. It came and checked the prior night's almost swing high there, but got rejected and fell right back into this range. And so probabilities state range, you're going to find more success trading range than you are going to try to catch the breakouts. And so that's what I'm going to be looking for here today until this market tells me it has adjusted market states. But at this point, we are moving sideways, and it's as simple as that. All right, everybody. Let's see here. Yes, John, definitely looking forward to working with you. Troy, good morning. Josue, good morning. And all right, everybody. Well, it is Friday. And again, like I said in the beginning, Fridays is a day to focus on capital preservation. If you've had a good week, make sure you're walking away with a good week. If you're going to execute today, you're not looking for those huge knock it out of the parks. You're looking for little bits, little growth. Set yourself up to be better come Monday. If you're down this week, today is a day to sit on your hands. If you're going to execute a trade, it better be a top-notch A setup, good to go. So that's what we want to think about on Fridays. Yes, Vast West, happy Friday. Nick, how's Sarge doing? Sarge is doing all right. We're not totally sure what's going on with him. He's been pretty sick the last week or so. So just keeping a close eye on him. He's on some medicine right now. Sarge has epilepsy, and so he is, for the rest of his life, he is on medicine. He gets 1.5 pills every 8 hours for the rest of his life. So, I'm definitely just extra cautious when he starts feeling like crap. Got to keep a close eye on him. And thoughts on the Dow. Gosh, I was looking at the Dow pretty closely yesterday, and I don't have that chart up or my notes on it, and I can't quite remember, but I do remember thinking the Dow was defining a really nice range. The overnight session gave us two incredible opportunities yesterday to trade the Dow, and I just haven't looked at it here this morning, so I don't have too much to say about it. But, I think the first thing you want to do is define that market state. And this goes for any market that you're trading. Define the market state. The first thing I do when I sit down is I say, what did this market do since I walked away yesterday after the close? If it stayed in a nice little range, I'm excited. I'm defining that range. I'm going to say, based off of some time and volume, I'm going to kind of define where the high side of my range is. Based off time and volume, I'm going to define where the bottom side of my range is. And I am going to keep it as simple as that. Those are the two levels I'm going to watch, and I'm going to fade those extremes, and I'm going to trade it all day, and I'm going to be in heaven if it continues to trade like that. If it's trending, if it's saying, you know what, it has broken out from the overnight, that overnight session, we're starting to make a little bit more of a directional move. Great. Then I'm looking for areas, where can this market pull back to? Where can it retrace to? If it retraces to those, can I enter to get in on the trend? If it breaks through, am I going to look to find that reversal? If the trend continues, then I want to start to think about it in the sense of, okay, where can this thing go? If I get in this, how far can this thing really go? So those are just a couple things to always think about when you're taking a look at these. I trade ESNQ, YM, and ZB simultaneously. Do you do that too? I don't trade all the equity markets. I'm very active in the ES. I watch NQ and YM throughout the day. And I trade the bonds. You guys know it's my background. Bonds trader grew up being a bonds trader. So I definitely keep a close eye on that one. And then I watch silver and gold a lot too. I've had a lot of fun with those here lately. No, I do not scalp. I'm sitting in my trades for a couple hours minimum, sometimes days, sometimes weeks, but a minimum of an hour or two I'm sitting in my trades. All right, guys, I am going to get going. I want to fill my coffee cup before we got the equity open. I hope you all have a great day and a great weekend. Remember, no recaps on Friday. John will be back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Central Time. So until then, you guys stay safe, wash your hands, trade smart, trade well. I look forward to seeing you guys in the markets. Take care.